This episode is proudly supported by Fine Food Australia. It's only a few weeks until Fine Food Australia, the country's leading trade event for food service and hospitality, is back on in Sydney. As a professional in the food industry, you know the importance of staying ahead, discovering new trends, connecting with suppliers, and finding the inspiration to move your business forward. For over 40 years, Fine Food Australia has been the ultimate destination for chefs, restaurateurs, cafe owners, food retailers, and distributors alike. With over 900 exhibitors across 12 product categories, featuring both local and global brands, Fine Food Australia is where you'll find what's next, what's new, and what's driving the food industry forward. Make sure you register online before the 8th of September to secure free trade entry, so you don't have to pay $45 at the door. Don't miss Fine Food Australia on from the 8th to the 11th of September at ICC Sydney Darling Harbour. For more information, go to www.finefoodaustralia.com.au.
I always say in Australia, people are not familiar with Iranian food enough. They don't know as much about Iranian food as much as they know about the other foods. Once they know it, they would never leave it.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. This is Dani Valent and Dirty Linen. Thank you so much for being with me for this food podcast, coming to you from Melbourne, Naarm, Australia, and beaming all around the world. We love our listeners in no matter what corner of the globe they are in now or have come from. We are thrilled to be with you, gathering in food community and warm conversation. I'm really excited about today's conversation with Mahshid Babzartabi. Mahshid is a cook, an author, an extremely accomplished woman living now in Melbourne, but from Iran. Mahshid, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Thank you so much, Dani. I'd like to say hello to you and to all your audience, and I would like to thank you for your invitation.
Well, I'm really thrilled that you've made the time to talk. I know you're a busy lady with lots of things going on. Now, I have just finished reading your second book, which is called Stop, Next Chapter. I found it so immediate, moving, devastating, but also inspiring and encouraging. It tells the story of your very difficult, perilous, tumultuous journey from Iran to Australia. Do you want to tell us a bit about it?
Yes, actually. I came to Australia in 2013, and exactly on July 7, 2013, I stepped my foot on Darwin. I started this journey from Indonesia, and we've been on boat along with 81 other people for 11 days. And during the whole journey, we have faced a lot of hardship, as you may imagine. It's not easy to start a journey with a fishing boat with 81 other people. So we did not have enough food, we did not have enough water, no convenience, nothing could give some ace for us to continue in this journey. And we seek asylum to Australia, and it took me actually, along with many other people, 12 years to get my citizenship.
Oh, Mahshid, I'm so glad that you're a citizen now and you have that certainty, but what a long journey. There were so many moving parts to the book, but I'd love you to talk to us about, you weren't like many of the other people, young people, some people with very young children. A lot of people called you auntie because you were a bit older than them. Tell us about your circumstances and why, as a woman in your 50s, that you took that incredible leap of faith.
Of course, this was not a very usual way to travel to any other country, especially for seeking asylum. And I was, as you said, the oldest one in the boat. Many younger people actually used to tell me why you started this journey in such a late age. And I knew I would be able to make it because I knew myself. And when I was back home, I was business interpreter and translator. And through one of the hardship I found with the government, I had to flee from the country. And by the time, it was the only way possible for me to leave the country and to start a new lifestyle. So I decided, through a very long process, I decided to make this migration by traveling to Australia by boat. And I knew it would be very, very hard task to accomplish. And the hardest part maybe was because none of the people who were my travel mate, I didn't know at all. And it was very unusual, very hard way to go through. Many things happened during this journey that made me actually thinking that I am in a movie. It was not something that you face every day. And many people in the ship used to call me, it was not a ship, it was a boat actually, used to call me auntie. And since then I've become auntie to all Iranian community in Australia. And I'm very proud of that. And that actually gave me another responsibility to look after people from my country in any way possible that I could.
Yeah, wow. I mean, there's so many parts of your story that we could talk about, but maybe this one that really just stayed with me, I found the images so immediate and harrowing, was the trip through the forest or the jungle where you hurt your foot. And just, can you talk about that part of the journey?
Yeah. Before we get to the boat, we had to do a long walk through the jungles in Indonesia. And it had to be in the dark because otherwise the border police, Indonesia police would arrest us. And it was very hard because we didn't have any light and we didn't know the road. And I had actually, before that even, I had some issues with my knee. I misplaced my foot and fell in the hole, and it was the very last minutes that people were trying to catch to the boat. And every time I started calling other and asking help for other, everybody else was helping their own family members and their own friends, and I couldn't blame anyone. So it took me about minutes to stay on that hole with one of my foot in the hole, the other foot was outside. And finally, a young boy, he was 14 years old, and he was doing the journey all by himself without his parents. He helped me and took me out of that hole. And since then, my foot has been damaged.
Really? Oh, my goodness. I think it's just that your understanding of people who have their own survival at the forefront of their mind, like your compassion for the people who are on the journey with you, I found really remarkable. Do you think there was something in your own sense of self, having a bit more life experience than some other people, that helped you through this journey to with all its adversity?
Well, actually, this kind of journey, which is, as I said, very unusual, you can't expect anything from anyone. And if you get any help in any way possible, you should be appreciated. That's what I think. And because I was a mother and I was the oldest one, I thought maybe this is my responsibility, but no one else's responsibility. And as I said, if they didn't help me, I didn't get annoyed, and I was not only I didn't get annoyed, I was just expecting it somehow. But I don't see it as something that they were just helping their own family members, their own loved ones. I think in lifetime, every time something like this happens, anybody else probably do the same.
Yeah, there's so much understanding. People who are listening to this conversation might think, hang on, isn't this a food podcast? And I suppose we know that people bring their whole selves to these conversations, and people come from such different backgrounds and have such different motivations for working with food. Mahshid, tell me about the place of food in your life.
Well, to me, food is not just nourishing your body, it's something that brings connection. And food has a very remarkable place in my life. I was, as I said, I was business interpreter back home. And because I learned interpretation and translation through experience, not through academic level, when I came to Australia, I couldn't follow it as a paid job. And then I thought, what can I do in this country? I don't know anything else to do. All my life I've been interpreter. And then I found that in a very early age, I started to learn how to cook. And I always loved cooking. And that was not only my passion, that was my hobby. So I started this as a paid job. And since then, food has been replaced to be interpreter. I do still do interpreting as a volunteer basis a lot, but my main passion in Australia changed to working in a food business.
And so tell me about some of the work you do in food in Australia.
My first job, as you may know, when we seek asylum to Australia in 2013, for 3 years we didn't have working right. So I couldn't work for 3 years. That's what I did as a business interpreter. Interpret, not business. It could not be business. It was interpreter, but as a volunteer basis. And I worked with a Farsi-speaking radio station, and I worked as a volunteer in many, many different fields for asylum seekers and refugees. And when I got my working right in 2016, my first job started with Free to Feed, and I was the first cooking instructor they hired, and then I continued that job for a while. After a while, I decided to do my own business and continue it as own field of earning income. And I did my own home catering, and I did a lot of cooking classes, which I still have learned cooking classes and catering as well. And this become my source of income, not only my source of income, this become a place for me to be voice of asylum seekers and refugees, because I started this platform as giving voice for asylum seekers and refugees, because if you may know, although many of us has got our permanent residency and citizenship, still 12,000 asylum seekers are in process, and none of them has received their permanent residency and is still living in limbo.
Yeah, it's a really disgraceful situation. And thank you so much for the work you do in highlighting it. I think we can see from people such as yourself, you don't take that kind of journey just for fun. There's a reason behind it. And here you are, making a remarkable contribution to the society that we all share. So, yeah, thank you for your determination and your voice.
It's a pleasure. I think this is a platform that gives you a chance to work on all passions you have at the same time.
I think there's nothing you can't do with food, Mahshid.
Yeah. There's a magic in food. There's a magic in food.
Tell me, when you introduce people, whether it was at your classes at Free to Feed, which is a remarkable organisation that connects the community and asylum seekers through food, but tell me, when you start talking about Persian food, Iranian food, what are some of the things that you share?
I actually... remembers me of my childhood, because when I was a child, my stepmother used to read me stories and read me from magazines, and that was very interesting for me. That attracts me to reading books and reading stories and writing stories, and that I use it as a sign to level up my classes by giving stories, letting people know about Iranian history. This was one of my passions. The other thing was because of the image that media giving about the whole world, about Iranian and whatever Iranian have been through. Many of them, they think we are aggressive, we are illiterate. I use this platform to correct this image and let the whole world about our history, let the whole world about what is really happening in our country, the stories behind every food, which I found everybody's very interesting in it, because in a today world, which is full of violence and full of aggressive things happening in the world, people will need some ace. And when they listen to the stories about food and they have the food at the same time, this gives them some easy time, and everybody loves that.
Well, Mahshid, tell us a story, whether it's about you as a little girl, like reaching up to the pot for your first times, like take us into your world.
Well, in my generation, I'm from back 60s. And in my generation, they used to give us this false idea that if you're not a good cook, you're not able to find a good husband. So, so which was a big fat lie, because I found many girls couldn't even boil an egg. They found the best husband ever. And so they used to tell us a girl before they get married, they have to learn everything. The first one was cooking. I was 10 years old when I started cooking. It was very normal back then. I used to poke a stove on my feet so I could be able to reach the cooktop and start cooking and learning everything. And so it continued since now. I don't use the stove now.
What are some, like, if people don't know anything about Persian food, like what are some of the key elements, the flavors, maybe a favorite dish?
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, I love all the dishes. I don't hate anything. But the key elements in Iranian food is always saffron. You know, the aroma and the taste and the flavor from saffron that comes. And it's very common in Iranian food, although it's called to be the most expensive ingredients in the whole wide world. But Iranians don't care and they still use it. So about Iranian food, as you may know, I know you're very familiar with Iranian Persian foods. They're very colorful. And before you can eat it, you can see them and you see all the colors and the flavors that comes from it that attracts everybody. I always say in Australia, people are not familiar with Iranian food enough. They don't know as much about Iranian food as much as they know about the other foods. Once they know it, they would never leave it.
I think once you know it, you're absolutely entranced by it because, as you say, it's the colours, it's the aromas, it's the flavours, it's the textures. And one of my favourite Persian dishes is tarchin with the beautiful baked rice with the golden the crust from the pan. Tell me, Mahshid, about tarchin. Explain to people what it is, but then I want you to tell the story about the Farsi word for rice.
Oh, the Farsi word for rice, I'll tell you this one, is berenj. Be means wheat, renj means, in Yoztal, means pain. So in very old days when the harvesting and cultivation was not as advanced as it is today, do you have my voice?
I do, yes.
Okay, so it was a very hard process to cultivation for the rice, and they used to call it wheat pain, which is called branch, and not many people could be able to have it. People used to have it only once a year. It was such an expensive ingredient, and people could only have it with rice. And there's actually very aromatic something citrus in Iran, which is called naranj, which means no pain. And it's grown in a northern part of Iran because growing and cultivation of this fruit is very easy, which is called no pain. And yes, and branch is called berenj, wheat pain, and the fruit is called no pain. So yeah.
I think that is so amazing. I just love that context for food and the stories, even in the words for the ingredient. It's so resonant and rich.
Yeah, even many Iranians don't know about the stories about food because in very old days, people have very limited ingredients to cook with, especially because transportation was so expensive and so hard. So people not only use the food as something to nourish themselves, they use the story of the food something to amaze themselves. There was no media, there was no iPad, there was no connection. Like the people used to enjoy the stories as well as nourishing food.
Yeah, that's so true. I love it. I think even I think Persian food is so beautiful it will still make people put down the iPad and concentrate. Tell us about tarchin. Tell us about this dish.
Oh, well, tarchin is used to be one of the most expensive food in Iran. It still is expensive because either it's cooked with the lamb or it's cooked with the chicken. It has to be very good quality of the ingredients. And also the saffron, which is the very key element in tarchin. And the point about tarchin is you have to be very patient because cooking it needs time to get to the level that you're expecting from that food. And even many Iranian women who are very good cook, they have problem cooking that tarchin There's one hack in cooking tahine that makes it more beautiful is you have to turn and move the pot several times, slowly on the flame, not put the pot on the flame and just leave it. You have to move it around several times to get the best result in one. And the crust that you get out of it, and it's amazing. And you can't even find not even one wedding party without tahine. There's always this food always on the table of wedding time.
Oh, I love it. I recently went to a restaurant in the north of Melbourne, Mahshid, called Mariam. I don't know if you know it. It's a Persian restaurant.
Yes, very good restaurant. Perfect food.
They have, wow, that's a good endorsement. So they have the tahine, but the one that I got, it was in a heart shape. It was so beautiful. I find it so scary to cook because, and I really appreciate that hack about moving the pot because, you only get one chance for it because you got to flip it to turn it out and there's only one chance to get it right.
Yeah. There are many times when I bring the tahine on the table for non-Iranian guests, they always think that I brought the dessert at the same time with the food. They don't have it. I said, no, this is not a dessert because it looks like a cake, but it's not a dessert. It's one of the foods on the table.
So, Mahshid, I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for a long time, but the reason I really just made it happen now is because you've started doing Mahshid's mystery box. Can you please tell us what your mystery box is?
Yeah. This mystery box has been in my mind for a long time. Actually, from the first time I watched MasterChef, which I'm one of the, I loved it. And I thought, well, why don't we sell the mystery box? So this mystery box actually has 8 kind of foods in it, and it's always a mystery. The people who order, they just need to tell me about their dietary options, and I just base it on the dietary option, on their dietary option. But they get 8 different course of meal, which they don't know what they're going to get, but definitely it's something that they can handle and they can eat.
Well, it's really great. We'll definitely be putting the link to that in the show notes. So everyone in Melbourne, please have a look at that. Now, you've mentioned the food, but you haven't mentioned the Persian poetic fortune. Please tell us about that.
Oh, yes. I decided because people, as I said, always interested in a story as much as they're interested in the food. And the next thing that people are always interested in knowing about the future, what's going to happen in future. There is a poetic Persian book, very famous one, Hafiz, and the people usually use it as taking fortune with these poems. And even if you walk in the streets in Iran, there are lots of kids selling these poems in an envelope, and you just pick one, and then this is your fortune. And I decided to leave one of these fortune in every box.
That's really nice. I love that. Yeah, it's an extra element to this. I mean, tell me more about your views on food, because I feel like even the fact that you're putting a fortune in each box, it makes you really think of food as this sort of 360-degree, multidimensional experience.
It is actually, I think, for everyone who's a food lover, it is actually this perspective you give to the food. So the perspective that I have for the food before I come to Australia completely changed. Back then, I used to serve my friends, families, and I always enjoy it. Even my neighbors, I always enjoy it. But here it becomes source of income and source of connection with the people. So it's more than just survival with my financial situation. It's something that gives me more chances to connect with the people. I came to Australia all by myself, and I lost my only son last year, so I don't have any family members. And this is actually very precious for me to have my cooking classes, to have my connection with the people, and to continue for not only as a financial survival for me as being a lonely woman in Australia, and giving me chances to connect with every people that I really enjoy their presence.
Mahshid, my heart really breaks for all the loss you've experienced, and just wrap my arms around you and the loss of your son last year. It's it's so much to bear. Thank you so much for still bringing positivity to the people that you connect with, even in such heartbreak. I mean, when you are making these boxes, talk to me about the feelings that go into them.
It's actually when I'm making these boxes, I really like to. I was there and I could see the people faces when they open the mystery box, and to because I think this is. Interesting for everybody and exciting for everybody to open a box which they don't know what they're going to get, and I really like that I was there. I want to write down in my page that everyone who gets the mystery box, can you take a video of yourself when you're opening it? I would like to see your faces when you open the mystery box.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like you need to be the little angel in the corner of the room just watching them. I really need you to, that beautiful connection and experience that you're bringing, you definitely need to see the results of it. I mean, how do you decide what's going to go in it? Is it based on the seasons or just inspiration? Like, how does the menu come to you?
I think a little bit of everything, because for the people who are familiar with Iranian food, like yourself, it would be a little bit harder. For those who are not familiar with the Iranian boxes, you put everything in it, and everything would be exciting for them as well. But this is their first experience is different with if you already had the experience. And many of Iranian food are based on a seasonal. There are some for some food you can only find it in season. So it's a bit of everything. It's bit of everything.
One of my favorite Persian dishes, Mahshid, is ashreshte. I think it's such...
I know that.
It's, if you think about a dish that tells so many stories, that is definitely one. Can you explain to people what that dish is and some of the times it might be served?
This is one of the oldest food in Iran with the oldest history, and it has Persian noodles in it. Usually it's served in a rainy days when it's rainy. Usually in old days, very old days, as I said, when people used to be poor, they could not have rice every day and they had it once a year. So most of the food which was soups, and this is a Persian soup. And the another reason for people used to have soup, because in old days people used to work in a farm and they had to prepare everything very fast and then they'll go work in a farm. So soups was the easiest one to prepare. And it has noodles in it. There is a story in Iranian history that they say people think noodles came from China, but noodles actually came from Iran. I don't know is it correct or not, but they have a long story about this. The source of noodles is in Iran. And it has lots of beans in it. And regarding to the nutritional point of view, it is very nutritious because it has everything, elements that is good for your nutrition. So it has herbs in it, it has beans in it, it has noodles in it, a little bit of spices. Our spices are not in a very hot way. We have spices, but they're not very hot. So there are lots of elements regarding the nutritional point of view in ashreshte, which is good for you. And another thing about ashreshte is, beside me, I don't do that. Everybody only cook ashreshte when there's lots of people around. They say, cooking ashreshte only by myself. But because I live by myself, I cook ashreshte when it's only me on the table. Yeah.
Wow. I think, we need to talk about herbs. You mentioned them as an important part of ashreshte, but they are such an important part of Persian cuisine generally. I haven't been to Iran, but when I wrote a book with Hamed Aliari. Some people listening to this podcast may know. So Hamed had a restaurant called Salamati. Now he has Kebabi in Sunshine, and I co-wrote his book with him and learnt a lot about Iranian food and about the place of herbs in Iranian cuisine. And he told me about the shops in Iran that just sell herbs, and people will leave with big armfuls of herbs or special herb mixes for different dishes such as ashreshte. But Mahshid, was it a shock for you to come to Australia and see what small quantities people buy herbs in here?
It was. It's actually, herbs are very expensive here. One of the other things that we have, like people in Australia or other countries, they have salad next to their food. We have plate of herbs, and there are only some shops, they only sell herbs. We never go to a shop and buy one small bunch of herbs. We buy big amounts of herbs, and herb has a very, very special place in Iranian food, not only because they have it in their main food, they have it as a side. The raw herbs, we eat a lot of raw herbs. So cooking at first, the first few years, I said, oh no, I'm not going to pay $30 for herbs just to cook in ashrishre. But now, after many years passed, well, you don't have any other choice. You have to pay $30 for just herbs to cook in ashrishre.
I remember Hamid telling me, like, the first time he went into a supermarket and he was like, where's the coriander? And they showed him the tiny little plastic, like, press boxes with about four sprigs of coriander, and he was absolutely shocked.
What is this?
It's such, I like the Iranian approach, I think. I want to leave with armfuls of herbs and have them with every meal and on every table. Mahshid, is there anything else you would like to say? Like, what messages would you like to leave people with?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking this. I'd like to use this platform again about advocacy of asylum seekers. There are 12,000 asylum seekers in Australia, which their application has not been processed yet. And many of them, they lost their hope because after living 12 years, starting a family, starting a business, having kids, they still don't know where they are. And they always, this fear back of their mind, they might be kicked out one day. And everybody and the whole world knows about the Iran situation and countries like Iran. I don't understand why they should still be living in limbo. And because many of them have been useful to this community and they have been cooperating and collaborating in the society a lot. And I really like to one day hear that their application have been processed and they are living safe in this country.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's a very cruel limbo to leave people in. I feel like it's not who we want to be as Australians. I look forward to celebrating people being given their permanent residency, Mahshid, right alongside you. Thank you so much for talking with us today. You bring so much colour and flavour and warmth and context to your food and also to the experience of refugees in Australia. It's really an honour to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for giving me this chance. There's one more thing I want to say for those who never tried Persian food. Do not afraid, try it. You're going to be a winner today.
Your life is improved instantly once you try Persian food. Thank you, Mahshid.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta @Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.